Okay, great. So we're gonna start in a nice restorative prone pose, which we don't get to do very often when we're pregnant. And being pregnant and laying on the belly is just, it's been really, really nice for me this week. So I wanted to share this with you guys and see if it feels good for you too. So I have a ton of pillows here. I actually have my pregnancy pillow here as well, just in case it's helpful. So the general idea is that you want to have something under your ankles, something under your hips here, something under your sort of low rib cage, and you'll have to watch your boobs. If they're quite sensitive, it might be a little bit hard to do that. And then something under your forehead as well. So I can show you a few different ways to do that. So with my two bolsters, what I can do is just set them belly distance apart. And then another prop under my ankles. This is kind of the classic restorative pose that you could do. And then something under the forehead. So I can come forward here, just get that little space in my belly, coming down, resting forehead, and then arms can maybe go down beside the hips. Okay, I know you guys probably don't all have two bolsters, so you could also use a couple of pillows. And actually, if you just have one bolster, I would use the pillows under the chest area because your boobs will be a little more sensitive. My osteopath had this amazing pillow with like boob depressions, and it was so comfortable. And you could also have them on the side. So another way that you could do this, Finnegan likes this setup. Another way that you could do this is to have kind of a V shape with your pillows or bolsters so that they're actually supporting your sides as well. And maybe I'll just try that with, I've got my bed pillow monster thing here. And I've got my other pillow here, and my dog is just right in the way. So I'm creating like a little circle. You could also roll up a blanket in that way. Can I have a spot, please, sweetie? Excuse me. Yes, I know you want to be comfortable too. So just kind of snugging in where you need it. So a little support along the sides might feel a little bit more comfortable. You might need to support your head, just kind of depending on what you've got there. With your arms, or you might need to have your head turned to the side.
Would you say the highest point is your hips, like the most pillow, or it just really depends on the body?
Well, I think the firmer pillow feels better under the hips just because it's not as sensitive as your breasts, but it doesn't have to be higher or lower.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
The height should be roughly even around, but it doesn't really matter that much. If you're a little tipped forward or something, it won't matter too much. So it's going to take a little bit of doing. I don't know if any of you had a chance to grab a hot water bottle, but if you like this one, you can kind of keep it in mind. Hot water bottle, if you're on sacral pain, you can put it there. We've been talking a bit about having this pain up at the sort of low rib cage area. That's also where your adrenal glands are. So having a hot water bottle there can also feel really nice for calming the nervous system. So I'm just sort of playing around here just to show some different options. And keep in mind that child's pose is also an option if none of these are going to work for you. I'd like for you to be as comfortable as possible. So we just get this feeling of being prone. I'm just going to come and check in with you guys. And do let me know if you have any questions. And yeah, more pillows are better, just adding more. Depending on how big your belly is too, you'll need more propping if your belly's bigger.
I can't tell, like when I'm in the position, there's a sinking feeling, like almost like it's pulling on my lower back, like my belly's too heavy. Is there something I can adjust?
Yeah, so do you have support along the sides?
No, and I don't right now. I should then try that.
Well, it'll just give your belly a little bit more support.
Right.
So having it along the sides might help. You can also adjust the angle, so higher or lower with your hips, for example. Might feel more comfortable. But yeah, if you feel like your low belly is kind of sinking in, I think the side support will probably help.
Okay, I'll try that.
Another thing that I'm going to try just for fun, because I love playing with props. And this pregnancy pillow is just such a funny prop. It kind of makes a circle. So I'm actually going to try that and see how that feels for my belly. So that's another thing you could try if you have a pregnancy pillow that you can use in kind of a circle-like shape. Maybe I'll kind of do it like this. And then just fill the gaps with more pillows. And again, if this is just not working for you, feel free to come back to child's pose. Actually, that works quite well. Just for those of you that do have a pregnancy pillow, that's actually quite nice. And again, arms could be in a cactus, or they could be down beside your hips, just whatever feels better. Or you might need them up around your face, depending on what's going on with your pillows up there. And yeah, having some support around the sides should help to feel good in your lower back, so it doesn't feel like it's just hanging in the gap. And then when you do find a place that feels comfortable for you, keeping in mind that if that changes and you start to feel like we were talking about with which side to lay on when you're sleeping, if something doesn't quite feel right, your body will kind of let you know. And if that's the case, just move. Okay, don't feel like you have to stay. And then just come to your breath. So this week for a lot of us, most of us in the third trimester now, feeling pretty good mentally, but there's lots of body stuff going on, and there's lots of lower back pain. That's just really common in pregnancy, especially later pregnancy. It just becomes harder and harder to engage your core, to even access your core. And so here's an opportunity to breathe into the back, to breathe into the sacrum, and into the adrenal area around the low rib cage. And also to have the face and the forehead down towards the ground, which is really nice for some of the overwhelm that some of us have been experiencing as well, just with life changes, preparing for birth, thinking about all the stuff we need, all of that kind of overwhelming stuff. We can just take this moment to be facing the ground, facing the earth, and let that really hold and support us. And so I'm going to give us a couple minutes here so that we can rest and just really focus on that breath in the back body. Just allowing your mind to do its mind thing. Letting your thoughts roll through as you need to. Just nothing you need to do about them now, including if your mind is sort of listing or worrying. Just notice that that's happening and see if you can return your attention to breathing into your back, sinking into the ground. And taking a moment just to notice how it's going for you here. I'm going to offer that we move on from this place, but if you're feeling like you need to stay a little bit longer, like if you've gotten comfortable and you want to relax a little longer, feel free to do that. Otherwise, we'll take about 3 more breaths here. And then there are a few things that we can do to come out. So often what I like to do is place my hands down, keep my hips on the support, and just lift my chest up. So this has been really helping me with my lower back this week as well. Just taking a little bit of a prone back bend shape with support underneath the hips. So obviously we wouldn't do this without props in pregnancy, but I find if I kind of squeeze my bum and really engage my legs, it just helps my sacrum to come back into alignment. Okay, and then we can make our way just to hands and knees, and then clear some of the stuff off your mat so that you can use it. And we'll just take a nice simple cat and cow. So inhaling into a little back bend shape and exhaling to round the spine. And this is also, you know, I love cat and cow, but it's also just really lovely when there is back pain going on. And I'm finding for myself that one of the things that I think is happening is my body tends to have a little bit of a sway back anyway. And with all of that weight coming forward, it's like it's sort of exaggerating that for me. And so just allowing my spine to round a little bit feels quite helpful. So just something to explore. And again, everybody's body is different. Every pregnancy is different. And as you guys, as we're all experiencing every day, pregnancy is different. So just seeing what feels good for you today. You can add on if you like. So circles can feel really nice, moving side to side. Just kind of feeling around. Noticing the shoulders and the neck as well. And if you've got a little bit more energy today, if you want to add a downward dog right now, feel free to. We can come back to that a little bit later, but if you're craving it, go for it. Okay, and then I'd like for us to do a little bit of Kegel work here. So I'm going to offer that we take this shape where we're just down on the elbows and the bum is elevated, because this is can be a really beneficial place to work on Kegels, but it can also feel a little vulnerable. So if you'd rather be in child's pose or even just sitting up on your heels, feel free to do that instead. You don't have to do this pose if you don't want to, but it can be nice for the shoulders as well. So you can just be right down on your elbows, or you can walk back a little bit if you want, just to get that little bit more space. And the knees can be as wide as you need them to be. And then from whatever position you're taking, inhale and imagine your sit bones widening to the side. So you're relaxing your pelvic floor. And then as you exhale, gather the pelvic floor in and up. So that's the anus and the vagina. So it's not a spinal movement. It's really just the pelvic floor muscles. Okay, and then inhale and relax. Allow the pelvic floor to widen and release. Exhale, gather in. So it's almost like we've talked in our pelvic floor class about picking up a blueberry and kind of drawing it into your body as deep as you can. And then releasing it, just letting it go. And if you're feeling a little bit stronger here, maybe you exhale to engage that pelvic floor and then keep it engaged. And if you know you have an overly tight pelvic floor, you're not going to do that. You're just going to focus actually more on releasing, widening the sit bones, breathing into pelvic floor. Okay, and then relax that on an inhale, and we'll just do one more, possibly holding. And if you're kind of in that in-between place, you can just hold for a breath, but if you're comfortable holding for a couple more breaths, just challenging the muscles a little bit, give that a try. And then relax, and let's all take child's pose. If you're not there already, go ahead and sit back, knees wide. You could put your forehead on your hands or a prop. And focus on relaxing that pelvic floor. So sit bones widening, tailbone and pubic bone widening away from each other. And that sort of trampoline of the pelvic floor, just really soft and responsive to the breath, so that on the inhale, everything widens. And on the exhale, there's no contraction, it just relaxes. And hopefully you feel your belly widening here as well, and maybe even your lower back. Beautiful. Okay, when you're ready, come back up to your hands and your knees again, please. Spread the fingers under the shoulders. You could have your fists as well. And knees, I find actually it's helpful if they're just a little closer than hips distance apart. And then find your core. So you want to think about pelvic floor engaging for sure. And then hugging baby up from below. So especially later in pregnancy, the lower core muscles are still there, but the upper ones, they're just too stretched to really do much for us. So you really want to think about hugging baby in and up, nice and neutral spine. Okay, and then take your right heel and just send it up towards the ceiling. Have the knee bent, so it's like you're pressing the ceiling up with your right heel. Yeah, and then we're gonna do a little, I should show you this, sorry, on the other side. So that's the inhale, squeezing the bum, try to keep your back neutral. On the exhale, bring the knee down, hover it to the floor, and then next inhale, widen the knee open to the right side. And then bring that down on the exhale, and inhale to lift it behind you. So just a little bit of work into the glutes, which we've been talking about as really important stabilizer muscles. They help to support the pelvic floor, which it's just working so much harder than usual because it's holding up a lot more weight than normal.
Julie, how are you activating your left obliques, or what are the stabilizers on the left side? Because I'm wobbling all over the place here.
The stabilizers on the left side are your transverse abdominis and your left glute.
And
So
my left glute.
Yeah, your left glute is going to be working to stabilize that left hip, just trying to keep it in place. And your transverse, which is that lifting baby up, Deep core is really mostly doing that work. Your oblique would pull you to the side, and you just want to stay neutral.
Okay. I don't know where the transverse abdominis is.
So the transverse abdominis is kind of wrapped around baby,
Okay.
and it's actually shaped like a corset around your organs, front to back. So the way that it engages is it narrows and lifts. So it's deeper than all these superficial muscles, and it's mostly in the lower belly. So when you think about that instruction of your hip points hugging together, that actually helps to activate your transverse abdominis as well.
Okay, thank you.
So sorry guys, you can relax on that one side. Just as I'm explaining, that's probably plenty on that one side. So we really want to think about that stabilizing and how can I stay centered. And if you are finding like I'm wobbling a lot, I'm having a really hard time being stable, we'll start this on the second side. So you can go ahead if you haven't already begun left heel up. But just think about moving less, so a smaller movement, but just seeing if you could really focus on trying not to move the rest of your body. So you do want to feel that there's some activation in the outer left hip and in the glute, the sort of bum, the back of your hip. But all of those stabilizer muscles should be working as well. And sometimes they aren't sure how. Like Olivia was talking about, it can be a little bit challenging to find those stabilizers. So that's a big part of the work as well. A little piece that could also help a little bit is hugging the hands together slightly. That's a little bit more upper core, but sometimes it helps just to kind of find the midline there. And keep hugging baby in and up. This is about all we're going to do for today, I think. It's plenty. And then when that feels about even to you, let's relax. So you can take child's pose, or you can sit back on your heels. And if you're sitting back on your heels, you could circle your wrists. You could do that in child's pose too if you want. Beautiful. Okay. So let's find downward dog. If downward dog isn't serving, just stay on your hands and your knees, extending one leg at a time. Otherwise, tuck your toes, lift up your hips, and you can pedal your heels out. So bending one knee at a time. And you might just feel, or sort of try to feel, that as you're in an inversion like this one, the baby moves off your pelvic floor. So you might actually feel a little bit less pressure in that lower belly area, which can feel really nice. And here's one that I've been really enjoying for my lower back. Widening the feet about max distance apart. Legs are roughly straight. A little bend in the knees is fine, tipping the bum up. And then I'm just waving my hips side to side. Nice and slow. So it's not bending one knee at a time, it's moving the hips to the right and to the left. So it feels a little different. And I get a little stretch in my lower back there. So feel free to try that and see if it feels good for you too. And then when you're ready, bring your feet hips distance and walk them forward, or your hands to your feet, whatever feels easier, so that you can come into a standing forward fold. And with pregnancy, I recommend elbows on thighs or hands on blocks, just so that you have a little bit more support. Depending on your back, you might want a really deep bend in your knees, nice neutral back, or you might feel more comfortable a little bit more folded forward. I'm just improvising here. I'm grabbing my bolster because it's close by. And then you can give your head a little release if that feels good. Maybe shake it a little. And then we'll find our way to standing. So to do that, I like to really bend my knees, and my feet are pretty wide. They're maybe max distance apart. I'm engaging my pelvic floor, my core, and my glutes. And then I put my hands on my thighs, and then I press up to standing. I'm just going to adjust my camera so that you can see me in standing. So we're just going to do a few standing poses that I think can be really beneficial for lower back stuff. And I want you guys to have this if and when you do start getting lower back pain, if you haven't already. So pretty simple stuff, but this should hopefully feel good. So first thing is psoas. Actually, first thing is breath. Let's start there. So we're going to do a few half sun salutations, and I want you to think about, as you inhale and reach your arms up, try to lift your back ribs with your inhale. So rather than just inhale whatever, try to inhale so that there's this feeling of like lengthening through the back. Okay, so this is really nice as baby starts to take up space in the lungs, and it also can help with that rib expansion feeling that's going on back there. Okay, so feet are hips distance or as wide as you need them to be. Bend the knees gently. As you inhale, reach your arms up, and again, feel as if you're breathing up the back. And then exhale, fold forward. So bend the knees generously. You could just come to your knees, especially with heartburn, or hands could come down. Halfway lift, rolling the shoulders back again, pull the ribs away from the hips. Exhale, fold any amount. And then bend your knees, look forward, reach up and lift up those back ribs, breathing along the back line. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, lift. So your arms are helping you lift your ribs up away from baby, just creating a bit more space. Exhale, bend and fold. Halfway lift, drawing forward, long belly. Exhale and fold any amount. Bend the knees a lot. So your hips are almost in line with your knees as you rise up. And then hands come to the heart. So we're just going to repeat that a few times. Just go ahead and finding your own breath pace. So you might want to go slower or faster. That's fine. This is a really nice one for circulation. So getting blood and lymph moving through your body. Okay. It's also really good for mood. So if you're having kind of a low mood, feeling exhausted, this is a really nice way to kind of shift out of that a little bit. And just get those nice deep breaths. Yeah. Beautiful, everybody. Just going to take about one more. And then when you return to standing, you can have your hands at your heart, by your sides, or maybe you want to hold baby. Your eyes could be closed. Just take a moment to feel. Just noticing if you might feel a little bit more breath or energy moving through your body. Beautiful. Nice, you guys. Okay, let's take that psoas release. So standing up near the top of your mat, warrior one, you're going to step your right foot behind you. So you've got hips distance or so between your heels. Back toes are a little bit turned in, and you can start with your legs straight. Now, this can bring up round ligament pain. I don't have that myself right now, but if you do, just back off a little bit, okay? So be gentle. It shouldn't feel like searing pain or anything like that. You're going to square your hips forward, press your back heel into the mat, engage your glutes, and tuck your tailbone under. And then as long as you're still feeling good, just gently bend your front knee until you feel a stretch kind of top of the right thigh and maybe a little bit into the belly, again, avoiding any feeling of kind of real tugging or searing pain in the ligaments of your pelvis. So back off if you start feeling that. Okay, reach the arms up to the sky. I like to interlace the fingers except for the first one. And again, see if you can breathe your back ribs up. So rather than trying to be in a big back bend, think about breathing into the back body. And some of you might add a side bend to the left. So that's away from your back leg, and we're creating space for the psoas, which is one of the muscles that's really involved in sacral lower back pain. This should feel good. Should feel like, yes, this is good. And this is a really nice one if you do sit a lot, because it releases that muscle that's contracted all day when we're sitting. Okay, gently come back up. Hands to hips, step forward nice and light. We'll just come right to the second side. Left foot steps back. Start with the legs straight, can really help with alignment. Square the hips forward, back heel presses down, tuck tailbone. And that might be enough, okay? Or you might bend into the front leg a little. Ribs are square, you can reach the arms up. Again, breathing into the back body. And maybe for some of you, exploring a side bend. Staying away from anything that feels really intense. It should feel really good the whole time, like a nice opening where you need it. And then up through center, hands to hips. And again, just nice and light. Step up and take a moment just to notice that, feel that. Beautiful. And then turn onto the long edge of your mat so you can take your feet nice and wide. And then turn your right toes in just a little bit, left toes out. So I'm not mirroring you, but we'll do both sides. So don't get too worried about which side you're on. We're going to come into a warrior two. So bend into your front knee, right over top of the ankle. And think about really drawing the tailbone down. So you're kind of, again, hugging baby in and up. Open your arms up. Breathe into back ribs. Spread the fingers nice and wide and flex them back. We've done this before, I believe. Maybe not last week, but relatively recently. Pressing forward through the heels of the hands and hugging your shoulders down your back. So you'll feel this kind of wrists, forearms, chest. This is another area that could get kind of tender and sensitive when we're pregnant. Okay, gently straighten your front leg as you circle the wrist, just giving your quad a break. So we're going to come back in. When you're ready, bend the knee again and bring your elbow right down to your thigh. And then if your shoulder's okay with it, take your top arm alongside your ear. Now again, draw tailbone down and breathe into the back rib. So you want to feel like you're lengthening this right side, top side, partly with your breath. So this is clearing another region that can contribute to back pain. Think long belly. So good. And then gently come up. Straighten that front leg. We'll switch sides. So I'm turning my right toes out now. Left toes turn in a little bit. Bending into the front leg. And try to level the pelvis. So there's a tendency for the left hip to lift here. Try to keep it nice and neutral. Tailbone drawing down. Knee over the ankle. Arms are open. And again, try flexing the hands back. So it's like you're pushing two walls away with your fingernails directed behind you. Shoulders gently draw down the back. And this is continuing to strengthen all those muscles that will just help us to support baby and help us in the delivery as well. And then straighten the leg, circle those wrists. And then bend into the knee. Take your elbow to thigh, top arm comes alongside your ear. You could also have it up or on your hip if your shoulder doesn't like that. But again, we think about the arm helping to lift the rib. So we're getting this nice lengthening through the left side. Tailbone drawing down a bit, so engage your glutes. Strong legs. Two more breaths if you can. Totally okay to come out early if you need to. So good. And then gently come out if you haven't. Parallel your feet. I'm just going to grab my blocks. If you have blocks, feel free to grab them too. You might not need them. So we're going to fold down. So just starting about halfway down, you can have your blocks nice and high if you're using blocks. You're more than welcome to stay here. Again, just working with that shift in position. Or I'm going to take my blocks down just to their middle height is usually where I like them. I'm walking the blocks forward, bending the knees a little, and then letting my heart melt back between my legs. This is a nice opening for the chest, the hamstrings, shoulders, and a little inversion as well. So just seeing how that feels for your body. Again, with heartburn, sometimes not so good. We need to keep the chest a little more lifted. So see how that works for you. And if it's feeling good, maybe there's a little rocking from side to side or a little shake of the head. Really nice, everyone. Good. Take one more deep breath. Maybe out the mouth. And then walk your hands under your shoulders again. You could climb back up onto your tall blocks. Bend the knees, again, pelvic floor, belly hugging in. Hands to hips and gently stand. And walk your feet together. I'm just going to show you one more thing in standing that I've actually found quite helpful for my lower back pain, including like in the moment when I'm having it. So I wanted to show you guys this because it might be beneficial for you too. It's standing pelvic tilts. We've done this laying on the incline before, but we're going to try it standing now. So on the inhale, you can think about tipping baby forward, relaxing your bum. On the exhale, pelvic floor, core, and glutes engaged. So you're tucking your tailbone under, trying to flatten your back. Inhale, relax baby, and you don't have to overdo this, especially if don't go into pain. And then exhale, engage those muscles, core draws in. Try to really fully engage your glutes as much as you can. They're super important for lower back health. And when I first started doing this after my back went out, I just noticed like, oh, my left glute is not engaging right now. So this was really helpful for me to just teach it like, come on, you can do this. And now it's engaging better and I'm feeling a little bit better as well. So just a couple of these, and this is a nice way to think about your Kegels as well. So if you're ever like standing in line or just wanting to take a break from work and standing, you can do this and think about just on that curl, lifting pelvic floor in and up with all of those other muscles engaging as well. And this is that transverse as well that we were talking about down low. Let's just do one more of those. Good, and then just find your neutral. So again, everybody's different. Just finding that place in between those two extremes where you feel like you are relatively supported. And of course, we've got a bunch more weight in the front than we're used to. So just seeing if you can feel that. Where do you feel like your lower back has a natural curve, but it's not collapsing. You can still breathe into that upper back region. Glutes are engaged, but they shouldn't be like 150% engaged. Shoulders just nice and neutral, head floating. And let's take another nice deep breath, imagining we could lift and widen the ribs. Beautiful, really nice. Okay, let's make our way down. So let's reach our arms up to the sky. And then take hands to heart, widen the feet if they're not already. Turn the toes out. So for squat, like 45 degrees or so. And then sink down. And let's just see how that goes. This was a pose that was super comfortable for me before pregnancy. It's very different now. So one way of being in it is actually to rock side to side on the feet. Sometimes that feels really nice on the feet as well. Okay, another way of being in it is to prop your, the blocks are actually a little high, but something underneath the heels. You could put one bolster under both, or maybe your blocks under your bum, and see if you feel okay settling. This is a really nice pose for prenatal as well. Just working with that nice wide pelvis and lengthening the lower back that does get a little crunched, especially later in pregnancy. Beautiful, nice. And then we can sit down. So you can sit on the block if that's comfortable for you. Just take a nice cross-legged seat, or maybe you want to adjust. I'm going to come up a little closer and just adjust my camera angle a little bit so that you guys can see me. And I've got all my millions of pillows in the way here. Okay. So side bending has been one of my favorite things to do during pregnancy. I love side bending at the best of times, but it's just really helpful for opening up all of those muscles that need a little bit more space. So let's just keep it nice and simple. Fingertips beside you. Reach one arm up and over. Press the tailbone down, and again, breathe into the back body a little bit, like we talked about. You might like to hold your head with that extended arm and turn the armpit towards the sky. So we get a little bit of shoulder opening here as well. And then come up through center, and we'll just go right to the other side. Maybe holding the skull, pressing the sit bones down, and again, breathing into your back body a little bit. So just hug baby slightly in rather than baby spilling out. And then gently coming out when you feel ready. You can take a couple of rolls for your shoulders.
Can I ask, I'm finding the opposite side of what I'm stretching is cramping.
Yeah, so what can happen there is as baby's coming this way, all these muscles are getting crunched back here. So if we start to side bend, we get this like crunch. So you want to think about really pulling back. Do you see how that's widening a bit?
Yeah, totally.
And lifting like up and over. But if you draw back a little, it should give you a little more space there. Does that help?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it's really that like almost, it's not really like a forward fold, but it's almost rounding. And I find then when you get the stretch back here, that's when it feels really good. Kind of where you want it. Okay, beautiful. I'm trying to smoosh in all the things I wanted to do today. So we'll see what we get to. Fingertips beside you, let's just do some really gentle neck release. So sit up tall with your spine, but let your chin drop. And then just really lazily roll your head from side to side. So right or left side doesn't matter that much, but in general, in pregnancy, we sleep on our sides. You can sleep on an incline. It's not wrong to do that. But for the most part, we're sleeping on our sides. And I'm finding that just all that side sleeping has crunched my shoulders and my neck a little. So it feels really nice just to massage this. And I find too that sometimes it's nice with this little rock just to let my shoulders kind of go with as well. So I'm not trying to keep a really rigid spine. I can let the upper body roll a little bit. And you might even feel a little bit of that release in the upper back region. Beautiful. And then eventually chin down. And just take your time to roll back up to neutral. And again, if you'd like to roll your shoulders a couple of times when you get there, feel free and no rush. If you're still kind of in it and needing a bit more time there, that's beautiful. Take your time. Okay, awesome. When you're ready, extend your legs forward. And then take your, this is my left ankle. It doesn't matter too much which side, just left ankle or whichever one onto your right knee and bend until you feel a bit of a stretch in the hip. This is another one of the sort of, if we have a list of magic poses for the lower back, this one is going to be really beneficial as well. I don't think any of you have mentioned sciatica yet, but that's related to an imbalance in the sacrum, and then you get this kind of shooting pain down your leg. This can really help with sciatica. So if that comes up for you, remember this pose. Yeah, you might find you want to be in this in stillness. You might find that rocking side to side is really lovely and delicious. So feel free to trust your instincts on that one. And really keeping a nice flexed left foot can help to make sure that the stretch really goes into the hip where you need it. And this is just so nice, again, for sitting a lot. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, let's gently release so the legs can go long. You give them a little shake, or if you want, you could do knees bent and windshield wipe from side to side. And then we'll switch sides. So just your second foot. This is my right foot here. And then bending up, fingertips behind you. So you want to think of trying to lift your chest up towards your shin. For most people, you can kind of feel this one pretty easily. You don't need to really harp on it. And again, if a little movement is nice, go for that. If you're finding you'd rather be still, that's fine. And the two sides might be different. I tend to be more willing to move a bit on this side than the other. Beautiful. And then when you feel ready, let's gently release that. You can give the legs a little shake. And then widen the legs apart. We'll just do one more forward fold. And I'm sitting up on a little prop. I'm actually sitting on the edge of it, so my sit bones roll off. And if you happen to have a prop nearby, you might want to use it. So bolster is nice, or pillow, or whatever, blocks even, whatever you've got. So the toes point up to the sky, lifting the heart, and then we'll gently fold forward. And you can use that prop to help you. So maybe you want to put your elbows on it or even your chest, depending on how far down you're coming. Just something to play with. And see if it feels safe and comfortable for you to let your head come forward. And if it does, it might feel really nice for you to rock your head really gently from side to side. So sometimes that can get into the tendons along the spine. And again, just addressing that upper mid-back region that some of us are kind of feeling some stuff going on there. Continuing to breathe into the back body. Awesome. And then in your own time, gently roll yourself back up and bring your legs together. And I kind of like to sort of wobble them together. And then you might want to shake them out, or again, take that windshield wiper if you like. And we're going to move right into Shavasana from here. So we've talked about a few different kinds of Shavasanas that you can do. And maybe I'll show you one laying on the side today just for fun. But if you want to come back to the laying prone that we started with, or if you like the incline, do your thing. We have lots of pillows and stuff around. So this might be a nice way to sleep as well. So I'm going to have a pillow under my side, and I'm going to come onto the left side because that's the canonical side to lay on in pregnancy, but it really doesn't matter that much. And I find for myself, I like my what's under my head to be slightly higher than what's under my side. And then I'm going to need one more prop here for my right knee. So my left leg, that's my bottom leg, is going to go straight. And I'm going to place my knee on this prop here. Shoulder goes in between these two props up top. And my right hand just rests wherever is comfortable. And you want to make sure that this prop underneath your waist is kind of supporting your belly. If you feel like it's kind of hanging down, which is definitely something that you feel later on in pregnancy, not in the beginning, but if it's kind of tugging you down, just make sure that that pillow is actually underneath your belly. Or you could add another pillow for that. Or you could slightly turn down, which I find actually is kind of nice for me. So just very lightly letting the floor press up into left side of baby. And we'll try that for Shavasana today. And if it doesn't work for you, there are lots of different ways that you can rest. So feel free to find what's comfortable for you with the props that you have. And really take your time to get there. When you do, take a nice deep breath. And just come back to that connection that you have with the ground, with the land beneath you that has been held sacred for a long time, and that you can hold sacred now. Receiving the support of that earth and the quiet, and allowing yourself to rest. Taking a moment to notice how you're feeling. If you're noticing any breath or ease or softness in your body, just take a moment to have that, to let yourself feel what that's like. And in your own sweet time, you can begin to move gently. So maybe toes and fingers first. Maybe you want to rock your head a little. Maybe there's a stretch there for you. And if you are laying back, you can gather in your knees and roll to one side. If you're already on your side, nice and easy just to straighten that top leg, maybe bend the bottom one and press yourself up. And then when you get there, you can place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly, which to me is a bit of a gesture of moving into this stage where we're thinking about balance between care for myself and care for my baby. And that both of those things matter, my heart and my belly. And then gently bow to yourself and your choice to be here in your yoga practice. Bow to baby and all of the things that baby is doing in your body. And bowing to each other in this community that we get to share. And thank you for sharing this space and this time and this energy with me. Namaste. Thanks so much, everyone. As always, we're just about 4 minutes over time, just in case any of you have to rush off. But I'll be here for a few minutes if you have questions or thoughts or feedback, or if you want to ask each other things. You know, it's such a nice resource to have each other, so feel free to do that. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys for our last week next week.